Ever since winning the StarCraft 2 World Championships, this player right over here in the bottom right-hand corner of Neon Violet Square, he's been completing side quests. He's been playing an awful lot of Protoss over the last couple of weeks in tournaments, and supposedly his Protoss versus Terran is amazing right now. Now, spotting right here in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the World Champion of StarCraft 2, and he goes by the name of Clem. His opponent, a previous World Champion of StarCraft 2 from South Korea, we're looking at ByuN's main command center. Now, I was thinking, is there anything worse than losing to one of your main competitors off races, right? Like for Clem, I mean, if he loses this, everybody's like, yeah, whatever, right? He can beat ByuN in Terran versus Terran, it's fine, right? But if you're in ByuN's shoes, in this sort of spot, how do you feel if you end up losing against your, well, Clem's Protoss in this particular case? We've seen the same thing, of course, as well in the past from Raynor. I actually have some Raynor games as well, where he is once more playing Protoss himself too. So there's some series where, at least in tournaments in the past, where where Raynor would be forced to play a Zerg versus Zerg, and he decided to pick Protoss instead. He recently did that once more in the Masters Colosseum when he went up against Rogue. I haven't had a look at those games yet, but I will do so over the next couple of days. Very excited to see where his Protoss is currently at, but apparently Clem now feeling much the same way for Terran versus Terran, where he just doesn't want to play it. His TVT is really good. We've seen him play some Protoss as well at, for example, Home Story Cup, where otherwise you would have to, for example, play TVT against Gumiho. Now, Gumiho's TVT is monstrous, especially when there's a new patch out. And the Cyclone, of course, did get overhauled quite a bit, and it seemed to me that Clem just couldn't quite keep up. But apparently we're now just doing it regularly. Like, he's been doing this a ton over the last couple of weeks. And the cool thing about it, I've been studying some of the replays. It's not even really much to do with the energy recharge ability. He uses it every once in a while, but it doesn't really seem to be something that he's really focusing his gameplay on. It's not like he's really opening up oracles or anything along those lines. Every single time I've seen Clem play Protoss versus Terran, he opens Blink Stalkers, and he kind of micros the Blink Stalkers like they are Marines and Marauders. He's just super aggressively, he's just super aggressive with it, and he plays it very aggressively. So it's a cool style. It reminds me a lot of the way that MaxSpecs does it. And, I mean, I think it's fair to say that MaxSpecs' Protoss versus Terran is the absolute best in the world. So, yeah, he's been playing a lot against MaxSpecs, and I guess he's been indirectly studying the opponent's side of things as well. So, it is once more indeed going to be a Twilight Council start. We've got ourselves a command center now finishing as well here for ByuN, who's just opening up with a good old 1-1-1. So, one barracks, one factory, and then eventually a starport as well. Now, Neon Violet Square is a big map. A lot of macro opportunities, and I would imagine at the very least that in a long game, ByuN is the favorite, right? Like, I have seen Clem win quite a bit with Protoss, but usually it's off of the back of phenomenal Stalker control. So we do have one of those Adepts getting picked off. Can he get a Hellion in return? He will. Can he get the other Adept as well? It looks like he will. So, all in all, a good beginning right here for ByuN. This early game dance is important. It didn't force out any Cyclones or anything along those lines. Now with the Adept gone though, he doesn't really need any of that sort of thing anymore either. Robo facility on the back of this. We should see at least 3 gates. Oh? Are we not? Oh, okay. So this is Clem actually adjusting. I don't think I've ever seen Clem play Protoss versus Terran off of a 2-gate opener. This is something that I think we have all determined is quote-unquote bad. It's one of those things that can be countered by Terran. One of the reasons why we have figured this sort of thing out over the last couple of months is because, well, Clem has just been demolishing Protoss players left, right, and center. But maybe Clem actually believes that it is possible to go for only 2 gates and then straight into a 3rd. Marine drop now arrives inside of the main base. Nothing all too crazy. Something that can easily be countered. But it's already costing a lot of lost mining time. And 2 Stalkers is really not going to cut it. With a mine! Good splitty. Very important splitty too, by the way, might I add. Yeah, a lot of lost mining time right here, though. So this is still a very nice beginning right here for ByuN. Generally speaking, when you try to take your 3rd, you want to have at least 3 gateways. Players like MaxSpecs have been trying to go 2-gate into a 3rd. but it's really not been particularly popular over the last few months. Mostly just because, well, the top tier Terrans have been destroying such a quick third Nexus. But it seems to me that Clem has already been able to get away with it now. We should see Stimpack, Combat Shields, +1. All the rest of it on the back it is. There's +1. Stimpack should start up right about right now. Yep. And then we'll probably see Combat Shields as soon as we have that next barracks available. Not as much a rush on that one. Because this is not a Stargate opener, we also have a Raven being annoying. Yeah, you got to be a little careful. I think he probably could have thrown it down. But he decided with those Stalkers nearby to just back off for now. And Clem is going to be able to get a little bit of scouting in himself. So the difference here between a 2-gate opener and a triple gate opener is that Clem just can't be too aggressive. He can really only sit here and defend. Because even if he does bring, like on this map, you can't really easily blink into the main base anyways. There's also that like pocket expansion in the top left that Clem is looking for right now. But there's just not a lot of easy ways to be aggressive. And I guess maybe also because of the map size, Clem feels like he can get away with such a big macro opener. But it does mean that we are in immediately though for a bit of a longer match. And I would imagine that favors ByuN, but we'll have to find out. ByuN going around the site now. There are these rocks, so you can't really easily march on over to watch that third base. Third command center now begins as well on location, and this is when the gateways finally finish up. We have the explosion de gateway, I think is what Clem calls it anyways. As we do have the charge upgrade here, together with the +1. We do have a bit of a probe shuffle again. Second auto turret gets popped down inside of the main base too, but yeah. All of this, I mean, it's still 9 probes. All of this is quite recoverable. It's mostly down to that first big attack right now that we will likely see here coming out of ByuN momentarily. Robo Bay on the back it is. Clem does have charge done right now, so you can actually make quite a few of these zealots. Charging at those siege tanks is phenomenal, and it looks like ByuN actually decides to play this passively. Rather than driving the siege tanks towards the other side of the map and trying to see if he could potentially win the game with Stimpack and Combat Shields and +1, which are now all finished. A couple seconds from now. He decides to just chill over here at home as well, and that does immediately mean that Protoss is going to be invited to take a 4th base. Yeah. It's almost like we have a gentleman's agreement here. I guess because we are on Neon Violet Square, there's just not really that much we can do about it, right? Like, this map is just so big. It's really quite difficult to go for a killing blow. Just because of the fact that, well, even like travel time is huge. One Stalker goes down, Medevac does survive. Now, ByuN, of course, is a man with Medevacs. And when ByuN has a Medevac, he needs to fly. Oftentimes as well to his own detriment, where he just ends up losing a lot more than he's supposed to. But ultimately, this is all slowed down enough. Yeah, I don't really believe ByuN can commit. I mean, he can give it a shot, but there's a good chance he's going to get overwhelmed. Quite a few Terran units are also just hanging out at home. So the supply advantage here is noticeable, but not really something that ByuN is going to be able to lean to. Because just marching units across this map takes like 10 seconds to just catch up with the rest of his army, right? So everything is just so slowed down. And that's now giving Clem the opportunity to go into that 4th Nexus, and then also into the Colossus production. Extended thermal lens here coming up. He probably could have planted the 4th base already. Decided not to take any chances. Siege tanks are going to be able to clean these units up with relative ease. And it looks like the Medevac from the left side of the map is going to sail. Yeah, it's going to sail away as well. Sail with a Z. Zailing. My favorite thing to do. Medevac is forced to unload now, just to keep some of these units around. Well, in the meantime, we have a big fight over here. Is there enough for Clem to actually hold on? We don't have interference matrix, but auto turrets and, well, the anti-armor missile can still be extremely useful. Widow mines, though, are being microed against really nicely. Reinforcing Colossus does show up. Only a couple Marauders are able to chase it down. Nice force fields here as well from Clem, who's now finally retreating back home with the rest of his units. One Colossus falls, but I believe that these Stalkers are going to be able to change the tide of battle. Yep, Medevacs get picked off, and the rest of the Terran army is going to get wiped off the map. Okay. That being said, ByuN is still finding himself in a really wonderful position. He's got himself his own 4th command center just about to finish up. He's finished double upgrades already, so he's ahead in that department. He's going into triple research right now, with the +1 air also coming up. Second fort's now finally coming here for Clem, but yeah, he's got his 4th base, but not really that many workers. Only on 68 versus 75 SCVs, and obviously that economy doesn't really take into consideration any mule mining or anything along those lines. Now, this is a position that we are all very familiar with, right? This is one of those positions where, generally speaking, Protoss dies. I don't know who ends up winning this match, but I am curious to see if Clem is going to make any changes, because this is one of those situations where just slowly but surely Protoss just sort of melts away. We've seen that time and time again in many years of StarCraft. These parade pushes from Terran are super dangerous. And ByuN is now basically ahead in every pillar of the game. Now, this is a good fight, though, I think, for Clem. Yeah, he gets on top of his army. Widowmine's also dealing a little bit of friendly fire. Colossus still kept around, and this is an excellent engagement here. I've noticed Clem is very aggressive with his Colossus positioning, but he rarely loses them. Like, he lost one of those Colossi at this point in the game. It's the one that dealt, like, a ton of damage over at the previous fight at the 3rd. But other than that, the skyscrapers are still around. That was a much better trade right there for Clem than I think he was really supposed to get. At this point, though, there's ghosts out. And ghosts are very dangerous. 2-2 on the horizon as well. We have the 2nd starport here, barracks 6, 7, and 8. They're going to get little tech labs on themselves. This is going to allow ByuN to really power into the late game. And he's still in a pretty comfortable position. Now, he does need a couple more Vikings. Actually, he had more. Okay. I'm going to say, if he only had 2, that's not too much. Turns out he's got 6 of them, which is going to be enough to force this Protoss army back home. Zealots here. Yeah, targeted onto the SCVs, but nothing all too crazy. 5th command center starts up. Cancel. Good cancel. ByuN is kind of split up, though. His army is still big. Clem does not want to put too much stock into what he's seeing over here at the front, although he's thinking about just targeting down the command center itself. Hello. Yeah, not enough Terran army over here. He just kills the CC itself. A couple of zealots have, in the meantime, made their way into the main base. Clem says, look, yo, thank you very much, buddy. I'll be driving back home now with these units. Or sailing back home now with these units. Misreadly Disruptor does get caught as well, and that was some mispositioning right there from ByuN. Not having all of his units in the right position means that the command center ended up going down. He could have lifted it off and gotten out of there a little bit quicker. Now the Dark Templar are here. These guys just ran headfirst into the storm, but the scan did run out. Just barely in the nick of time. Zealot run by happening over on the left side of the map too. The DTs do get spotted. What? He just tapped out immediately. Hold up. Did anything happen that I missed? So these DTs go on the ramp. And now about a second after this, ByuN decides to tap out? I mean, I'm liking this position a lot better for Clem than I did a couple minutes ago. He sees the DTs. He's got plenty of scans available. He doesn't have the Raven anymore from the early game, but yeah, this is not a great Terran economy, but he still has a huge army. Let me just switch over to ByuN's point of view here for a second, right as he decided to tap out. We'll back off here. So this is the last couple seconds of this game. I don't think he... Like, he sees the little shimmer. Yeah, he sees the shimmer here. So he scans at the front. Sees the Dark Templar. Zealot... Okay, Zealot run by on the left. That is a super early GG. Honestly, a ridiculously early GG. I'm not entirely sure why ByuN decided to type GG. He had plenty of scans available. His economy was fine. His army was still big. Now, that game was getting to a point where the skills were starting to tip in Clem's favor. It could have been a gigantic misread from ByuN. But regardless, when you're tapping out with 180 supply, it is early. That is by no means one of those situations where ByuN could not have come back. And I've noticed a couple of those moments, actually, in ByuN's gameplay over the last couple of weeks. Remember that series that I casted where he didn't type GG in the final game? I thought it was maybe a mistake. Maybe he was just frustrated. But I'm starting to think that that was by design and on purpose. ByuN doesn't really strike me as somebody who gets particularly tilted in games of StarCraft, but we've now seen multiple examples of it where, yeah, he's just seemingly not having a good time. I know in the past, ByuN has also had wrist issues where, I mean, his wrists are really killing him. He's had all kinds of checks for that sort of thing. Interestingly enough, I find this very curious myself, but ByuN has had like multiple tournaments where he had to forfeit because he had too much pain in his wrists. And this is something that's been ongoing for many, many years. And apparently he had all the checkups, he had all of the research done to determine that it's all in his head. According to doctors, everything's fine. Like, he doesn't have any, but it's phantom pains, which is pretty nuts. Like, apparently when you believe hard enough that your wrists are hurting. I remember trying this as a kid oftentimes when I didn't want to go to school. And I really wanted to play RuneScape at home. I'm like, please get a tummy ache. Please get a tummy ache. Please. And I remember it sometimes worked. Or at least I made myself believe that I could go home and play RuneScape instead. Yeah. Anyways. It is curious. I don't like that tap out though from ByuN. That was very early and quite unnecessarily so. Obviously, you never really truly know, right? Like, maybe it is not phantom pain. Maybe it is something that's actually there. The fact of the matter is, though, that it happens sometimes to ByuN, and it seems to flare up more often than not in certain situations. I'm not exactly sure if this is one of the problems he's running into right now, but I have noticed in the past, though, whenever he does have issues like that, and he taps out early in, like, the first game of a series, for example, because he has done that before. Usually, if he's hurting, he cheeses in the next game. Like, he just tries to get the games over with as quickly as possible. And now he's playing a big macro game again, or at the very least, the early game is not a very fast one. So, I guess that's not the case. I'm assuming in that instance, though, that ByuN is just kind of tilted. It couldn't really have been a big misread either, right? Because even if it is a giant misread on how the game is going, you still have 180 supply. Like, there's about zero reason to leave a tournament match when you're at that much. Anyways, we have almost a carbon copy here for Clem. Is he gonna go triple? Nope. We have a double Rex here, and using the Robo facility and that gateway to make a bit of a choke point over here in the natural expansion. Will he make a third gateway this time around before going on over towards the third base location? Or is he gonna go for a double gate opener? ByuN actually playing this very safely. Yeah, maybe ByuN was thinking, yo, I've lost my command center, and ever since that point in the game, he was already kind of mentally checked out. And he decided to stick in a little bit longer, but he just decided to rip off the band-aid. Like, something like that can happen as well, obviously. But that was certainly a little curious. Anyways, we've got ourselves the Widowmine drop right now coming in. We need to do a splitty. Oh, or we target it down. This is a brave play. Splitties. Okay. 2 probes. 3 probes in total. Not bad. Little fidget spinner Widowmine now goes back to mining. Raven on the back of this, much like the previous match, and I think this is all pretty much identical. Yeah. We do have a bunker over here at the front. We have another barracks coming up right now. You can add it onto the tech lab in a moment, go into the Stimpack research, and get the job done. Is this going to fit? I feel like this is a little too close. Anyways, Widowmine drop attempted now in the natural expansion. Oh. Gets a couple more probes there than he was originally aiming for. Probius was ready to sacrifice himself, but did not quite happen. So this is a better start, though, here for ByuN than the one in the previous game. Raven is still hanging out too, accumulating some energy to drop down 2 of those turrets at the same time. It is once more charge right here. And it was, by the way, once again, a double gate into a third nexus. So this is pretty greedy. Yeah. It's funny to me how MaxPex and Clem have played so many games against one another, and MaxPex has seemingly come to the conclusion that a double Rex or a double gate opener is just too risky. And then we have, well, his main adversary, right? The reason why he believes that not to be that great of an option, go for the exact alternate route, where now we do have Clem going for the double gateway start. There's a lot of damage. 9 probes here at the 6-minute mark is not bad at all, especially considering the Medevac is still around. I would love to see him try to get that one back home. We do have a bit of attempted pushing here as well on the left. This is one of the things you can do on Whispers of Gold. Quite a bit of space, you can kind of blink across too. The siege tank does not cover quite far enough, so you can see the dotted line over here. This little space to the left of it is safe for the stalkers. Sometimes you can harass some of those SCVs that are mining the Vespian gas geysers. So, 6 gateways once more. Combat shields, Stimpack, +1 infantry. Not bad here whatsoever for ByuN. And all of this is pretty safe. We should see a Robo Bay on the back of this as well in a moment. To go into the Colossus once more. And I believe that everything at that point is going to be very normal. ByuN now, though, outgrowing the Protoss player. It's what always happens at this point in the game. ByuN not really adding on a whole lot more SCVs. Matter of fact, the 3rd command center is coming up right now. Not building it on location. He's building it in the main base. But he stopped making SCVs here for some time. So this does mean that ByuN needs to get something done with this push. And it's critical for him to get those siege tanks in an aggressive position. Preferably within range of the Nexus. There is an Immortal out. 2nd Immortal coming up. Shield battery is not going to happen. Nice targeting right there by the Terran. Anti-armor missile has been dodged. Good control here by Clem, who now decides to pull the trigger on all of those zealots. Aggressive blink forward as well. Targets down both of the siege tanks. Backs off once more. The anti-armored stalker there did get targeted. And honestly, that was a clean defense right there from Clem. Whew. How many times have we seen Protoss absolutely butcher that fight? He can now go into a 4th Nexus. Instead, we're going to prioritize getting a Prism going. +2 also starts up. Yeah, there's still no 3rd command center spotted here. He doesn't know about what's happening inside of the main base. So he's a little bit concerned that this is just some sort of like extended 2-base all-in. Decides to go into the Robo Bay instead of the 4th Nexus. This probe has been put on a little bit of a just a waiting list, right? It can just chill here for a while. Doesn't have to be too aggressive. I feel like Clem is really good at getting value out of just good old stalkers and zealots. Now the 3rd CC gets spotted. Obviously, though, the 3rd base here for Protoss has been up and running for a long time. No siege tanks available anymore. I think this is still a good enough Protoss army, though. Those Immortals are not to be underestimated. Yeah, good force fields. In the meantime, there's a Zealot Warpin as well inside of the main base. 7 SCVs have already gone down. Colossus can start. Yep. I wonder if maybe ByuN went into this series thinking it was going to be an easy one. Like, I wonder if he's not been taking this game very seriously or something along those lines. And he's just looking at this and he's like, ha! Clem's Protoss? Because these are very committed pushes and they're not really going anywhere. Like, yeah, it would work, but you would have imagined by now that he realized that Clem's Protoss is legit. Very good in this matchup. 4th Nexus, by the way, has begun. Ghost Academy does start up. That Nexus is gonna get cancelled again. Although I say that, no, Clem doesn't want to get it cancelled. Now, those were some really good Widowmine hits. Colossus now available. One of the Medevacs gets sniped. Couple Zealots here over at the 3rd base, at least disrupting the mining for quite a while. They decide to run away. Little SCV decides to chase it down. Look at this Chad. He helped. He helped. He scared them off. +1 armor coming up. Another Colossus is going to finish up. And This is something that MaxPex does in his games. He's never too urgent when it comes to the extended thermal lens upgrade. Clem apparently... I think basically what Clem does is he looks at MaxPex's games and he tries to copy it one-to-one. I'm fairly sure that is exactly what Clem does when he's trying to learn Protoss. Look at what MaxPex does and then try to do that. Yeah, honestly, jokes aside, we rarely see Protoss getting played at like more than 400 APM. And it shows in the unit control. Clem's playing some fast StarCraft. Yeah. Second starport coming up. Ghost production is underway. Supply block right now, though, for ByuN. And that is one of those things that can hurt. Obviously, though, Clem doesn't know about it. He's starting to take control of the map. Little pockets of units all over. We have a pylon building on the left side of the map. Shield battery over at the 4th base, too. Viking production right now does begin. There's only one of them available at this point in time, but he's gonna need at least like 6 to fight those Colossi. If you don't respect them, you can go up to like 5 Colossi and it's fine. Okay. This is an easy fight again for Clem, though. It doesn't really need to do too much over here. Blinks forward, snipes one of the Medivacs. Widow Mines gets sniped too. Couple Zealots here just to be annoying. Killing a Ghost or 2 would be sweet. He decides to back off when getting close to the Terran's 3rd. I wonder if Clem can actually test the waters a little bit, though. He's going double upgrades at this point in time. Vikings are getting sniped by the Stalkers, but Clem decides to go back home as he's now bringing Disruptors into the mix. And we do have that +2 together with the +3 researching too. Whereas ByuN has not started up his own engineering bay upgrades in a long time. It looks to me that ByuN is either forgetting about it or he's purposely not getting it. He's selecting the NG base, but he hasn't yet fired up the +2 research, which is a big deal. When you play 3-2, right? +3/+2 as Protoss against 1-1 Terran, your army is just gonna hit noticeably harder. That means that this is a super committed push right here from ByuN. Rather than going for upgrades, he's spending his money on more army. Disruptors, though, are dangerous. Okay, snipes one of those Novas. Second one, not so lucky. Colossi having a grand old time, but there are a lot of Vikings up in the air. In the meantime, Zealots are going to town on the other side of the map. And just like that, it's Clem who obtains the victory 2-0 over ByuN's. Or, just like that, it's Clem who obtains the victory 2-0 using Protoss. I have some more games. I have some more games from the exact same tournament. Spotting right here in the bottom left-hand corner. We once more have the World Champion of StarCraft 2. He's playing Protoss, and he goes by the name of Clem. This time around, though, in the next round of the event, we have a Terran player that I haven't actually seen in a little bit with the blue SCVs. We're looking at Bunny's main command center. Bunny doesn't play in a whole lot of tournaments. Bunny in general, I mean, sometimes I wonder if he still even plays the game. But every once in a while, he signs up for an event and he does look like a bit of a monster. I would personally rate ByuN over Bunny. I mean, ByuN is just very good at the game and he plays in a ton of events. So I would imagine going into this, it's Clem who's the favorite, but... let's have a look. Let us have a look. I can imagine that it's gonna be an identical opener once more for Clem. I don't really expect him to do any changes, although he could decide to go for a 3-gate or even a 4-gate start. We'll have to see. Bunny, by the way, a Korean Terran player. There have been 2 pro gamers in the past that were named Bunny. One of them from Denmark. And then one of them from Korea. I'm actually not exactly sure. Let me have a quick little peek on Aligalek, where Aligalek currently ranks Bunny. He's very good. Oh, Toss? Yes. Oh, Bunny just figured out that Clem's playing Protoss. I didn't know, but okay. Well, it doesn't matter. He was going for a 1-Rex expand. He's fine. He's fine. According to Aligalek, Bunny is currently the rank 22 in the world. Oh yeah, of course. Bunny got picked up by Team Falcons. That's not that long ago. Team Falcons announced that they picked up Rogue, Solar, and Bunny over the last couple of months. Now, as of me casting this, we don't yet have an announcement for the StarCraft 2 EWC for 2025, so the Esports World Cup. But considering Team Falcons is a Saudi Arabian organization, everybody's making the assumption that StarCraft 2 will be there again too, because otherwise why would they be picking up 3 StarCraft 2 players when they didn't do so in 2024? Like, they didn't have any competitors in the Esports, like, Club Championship, I think is what they called it, for 2024, and now they picked up 3. So I would imagine that StarCraft 2 is going to be part of that again too, but I'll believe it when they make the announcement. Lucky here for Bunny, by the way. He didn't commit to like a super aggressive build. That would have messed everything up. It is funny, though, to suddenly realize, wait a second. He's doing side quests. He's not even respecting me with his Terran. Like, he's just hanging out. Okay, Twilight Council opener once more. Good old Blinky Boys will indeed be the name of the game. Couple of adepts just trying to be funny. Should be an easy counter, though. And I really am getting some deja vu between these games, guys. Like, everything is looking surprisingly similar. Yep. A robo facility together with a gateway at the front. Stalker on hold position there. That is how Protoss players make doors. You love to see it. Widowmine drop here for Bunny. Barracks number 2 coming up right now. We should see a tech lab in a moment. Good old Stimpec. And everything is going to be a-okay. It is important, man, to pay attention to your opponent's race in the loading screen. Fun fact, when you're playing a 1v1 in StarCraft 2, you can actually click the little button that appears in your top right-hand corner to see exactly what the opponent plays, even when you didn't notice. Obviously, at this level, everybody knows each other well, right? So you would imagine, hey, it's Clem. Clem's a Terran player. We're playing a TVT. So you can't blame Bunny all too much. It's one of those things where you make assumptions sometimes. Okay. This is a really nice interception here, though, for Clem. Just shooting at this medevac before it even arrives in your natural expansion is huge. This is basically this Widowmine drop held. Obviously, you still have to respect it, but it is something that is much easier now. Yeah, we do, by the way, have a different build. So rather than going for the double Rex into a third, this is a quadruple Rex into a third base. Meaning that now Clem is going to have a later expansion, but he's going to have a lot more firepower. And with some good control, this is the type of stuff that you can straight up win games with. Let's see. Oh, Bunny's sleeping on the job. Careful. He doesn't have a siege tank yet. No, Raven is going to get sniped easy peasy. Nice pickup control right here. Not a single Stalker has gone down just yet. Oh my god. Siege tank spots. That was monstrous. Now the Widowmine drop, by the way, goes in. He does actually kill quite a few probes with that too. Can he get it? If he can get it. Blinky, blinky, blink. Do we have blink? Oh, he gets it. In the meantime, the Stalkers over here are also committing. There's a single adept being an absolute nuisance. Not enough siege tanks available to really cover both the main as well as the natural. This is dangerous, man. Yeah, I was gonna say, you blink into it. Suddenly all of those Stalkers are gonna be able to snipe down every single attacking unit. SCVs are falling out of the map. I mean, other than the Widowmine drop, Clem obviously still a human. He can only look at one thing at once. I think so anyways. Pretty sure he's human. Other than the Widowmine drop, that game was pretty much flawless. Next up, we are on Amygdala. Yeah, Clem's looking like a bit of a Protoss monster. This is just in, but I heard that players that are good at StarCraft are good at StarCraft. I know. Turns out, yeah, the skill carries over from race to race. This is a crazy concept, man. Actually nuts. I'm actually loving this, though. The fact that we have the top tier Protoss, or the top tier Zergs and Terrans, like basically playing some Protoss too. It's really quite nice. There's obviously not been a lot of Protoss tournament winners, right, over the last couple of years. And the question is always, is that because of balance? I think partially yes. But also, it turns out the very best players in the world are just really freaking good at the game. And there is certainly a chance that they just don't play Protoss, right? Like, when it comes to tournament winners, it's a group of like 5 players. It's a relatively small group, and it can certainly just be, yeah, a statistical anomaly, right? Where it's not even really much of an anomaly, it's just unlucky that none of them decided to play Protoss back when they first installed StarCraft 2. In my mind, if this is how good Clem is after a couple weeks of playing Protoss, like, he seems to be playing it quite a bit right now. Obviously, he's played it more than that, but yeah, if this is how good he is, like, imagine if he was a full-time Protoss player. I feel like he would still be able to dominate the scene. It would be the ultimate form of balance, though. If every pro gamer could play, like, 2 races reliably, I mean, I think that that would probably be the ultimate form of StarCraft 2 balance. You could have very interesting matchups. Okay. All very normal. Nothing weird. I don't think we really expect anything strange here. I am curious, though, to see if Clem decides to go for a 4-Rex or a 4-gate again. So, the 4 gateway all-in in Protoss versus Terran has fallen out of favor at the highest level. The reason being is that players like Clem are extremely good at positioning their units perfectly. And it turns out if you position your units perfectly and you micro well when you expect that it's a 4-gate opener from the opponent, you can shut it down, right? And that's because Clem played against the 4-gate opener for like a year straight, pretty much exclusively when MaxPax was doing that every single game. Game in and day, he was just always going for that same build. And because of that, Clem learned how to counter it perfectly. These days, we don't really see, at least not in the European scene at the highest level, we don't really see a lot of 4-gate all-ins. Now, there is a good chance that in the previous game, Clem decided to give it a shot. He's thinking, yo, maybe Bunny doesn't play that much these days. I'm not exactly sure where he's at. This is like a major skill check. Let's see how well he does against a 4-gate expend, right? So he went 4 gates into a 3rd. Maybe he saw something in that game that makes him think, yo, maybe I can just go ahead and do it again. Maybe I can just go ahead and pull it off once more. Because if he did not like what he saw, there's a good chance Clem is thinking, yo, I can just get the 2-0 win by doing a bunch of blinky boys. And obviously the micro of Stalkers is not that different than if, like say for example, you want to compare it to like Marines or Marauders. I guess the Prism does complicate it quite a bit, but it's not entirely unlike one another. These have a lot more HP than Marines and Marauders do. You have a little bit more time. Looks like it is going to be a 2-gate though. No, it's a 3-gate, sorry. So we are going to see the 3rd flavor of Blink Stalker openers here too. Clem apparently showing us that he's mastered all of them now. Curious. So we've seen 2 gates against ByuN. Then we've seen 4 gates in game number 1 of this match. And now we're going for triple, which is like a middle of the road type of strategy. This is something that we see MaxPax do a lot these days. This is MaxPax's go-to. It's especially good though against these sort of Cyclone-based builds. You need more than 2 gateways in order to hold this. Let's see. Major skill check coming up right now here for Clem. Yep. Because we've brought some SCVs to the front too. Bunny decides to go for a bunker rush. That's going to be the end for that robo facility. Aggressive blink forward though right here by Clem. He pulls the SCVs as well. The Protoss SCVs. Medevac goes down. Siege tank goes down. All the important units are now dead. Reinforcing Stalker should clean this up. He decides to target fire down the SCVs. One of the bunkers does finish. Reinforcing tank shows up. You need to go home, buddy. No way. He's gonna drive it in here? Yeah, Liberator coming up too. This is why Clem was so aggressive. He did not want to fight this before the second one shows up, but I think it might be a better choice to just go home. 2 more gateways, by the way, finishing up eventually here inside of the main base of Clem, who is going to double down on this aggression. Yeah, he knows that the gateways at the front are likely to fall next, although, yeah, maybe he can just clean all of this up before it really gets going properly. And now suddenly, we end up with, well, not even just 4 gateways. We end up with 5 gateways, a 3rd Nexus, against a Terran player who only just now fired up a 3rd command center. In the grand scheme of things, that was a good trade right there for Clem. Imagine if he would have gone for 4 gates at home, and he would have delayed the 3rd Nexus, for example. He could have probably, he could have overwhelmed that army with ease. So a bit of a gamble right there from Bunny. And it didn't even really pay off, even though it wasn't a super hard counter against what he was doing. Now it'll be up to the Terran player here to play defensively. The problem you run into is that you lose a lot of time. There's no stim pack, no combat shields, no +1. And that's really the major advantage here for Clem. Obviously, he knows that. He's well familiar with that Terran attack, because he's done it many times himself. He knows the weaknesses. It does look to me, though, that Bunny is well turtled up at home. Yeah, there's a lot of siege tanks available. We have a Raven over here, too. Stalkers are not going to be able to overwhelm this at this point in time, but Clem is thinking, yo, what about more gateways? We're going 11 gates? Yeah, okay. As we all know, the only acceptable amount of gateways are either even numbers or prime numbers. Prime numbers obviously being the more nerdy version, but there's some players out there that will go for, I don't know, just a stupid amount of gateways. We don't like that. We need to have at least a little bit of reasoning. This does mean we're going up to 11. Raven coming up on the right side of the map. Ooh, Bunny thinking about taking the 3rd? Okay. This is risky, dude. He doesn't know what's going on. Like, he hasn't seen what's happening on the Protoss side of the map. There is a prism available. The tentacle rocks have just exploded. Got a lot of money in the bank, too. Oh my god, perfect engagement here for Clem. Yeah, lovely engagement right here for Clem. I think he's just going to be able to overwhelm this. Another Medivac is going to get sniped. In the meantime, he did build a 4th Nexus during all of this. Robo Bay is finishing up right now. Ay, 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 ay. Yeah, brilliant stuff right here from Clem. This Protoss is looking so good. Raven gets all army hotkeyed over this army. Yeah, sick. He can force field the ramp too if he really wants to rub a little bit of salt in. Yep. A single G and then 2 more get posted in the chat. It's Clem who takes down 2 of the very best Korean Terrans. Both of them 2-0 playing Protoss. Ay, 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 ay.